moepork here with an updated Omen guide. I'll be breaking down subcategories of each concept that will be gone over listed here to get a better idea of what to look forward to. There's a lot of stuff to cover, so let's get started. Now before we get into the nitty-gritty of techniques to be done with each ability, we want to go over why you would want to pick Omen in the first place and the roles he can cover. Omen is a very versatile character, so he can actually fill a good number of roles. As a controller, your primary job is to block sightlines. The two roles that Omen has the most value in are the support and lurker roles. As a lurker, Omen is able to simultaneously contest flankers and establish more map control while still being able to supply utility to the rest of his team due to the near global range of his smokes and his global ultimate. Since your Paranoia also goes through walls, sometimes you can set up teammates from lurking positions. Staying alive increases your effectiveness due to being able to use your smokes more times throughout a round, hence why playing a primarily aggressive role is his least valuable use, especially if you're the sole controller agent on your team. Your teleport will generally be less effective from the lurking position due to the sound cue being more easily heard in areas of low noise volume. Moving on to the support role, this is also another strong position to play. Your Paranoia will generally be more effective by being able to set up teammates easier. Teleports generally will be more effective in this role since there's generally a higher noise volume happening near where the main fight is happening, so enemies won't hear the sound cue as often. As an entry frag or playmaker role, this is Omen's least valuable role. That's not to say that he can't be a playmaker, it's just not his primary function to a team. I would only use Omen in this primary style if you have no duelists and have another controller on the team. You can entry well with good use of Paranoia and well-timed teleports. If you get a successful sneaky teleport off, you can open up sites through infiltration by flanking your opponents in a neutral game state. Omen is also a very powerful operator user on defense. While he doesn't have as effective of anti-trading abilities as Jet for example, he can still play many off angles in one and done spots and escape out with his teleport. His teleport also serves as a great way to mix up your long range positions to throw off your opponent in terms of figuring out what angles you might be reappearing from. Omen's versatility allows him to fill all of these roles at any point in the game when necessary, and is one of the best reasons to have an Omen on your team. Now that we've covered the roles, let's get into the stuff you probably came to this guide for, the abilities and how to use them more effectively. Let's start off with his teleport, Shrouded Step. This ability has a range of 15 meters and can reach vertical locations. Teleport has two sound cues, a very loud departure sound that can be heard up to 45 meters away, and a much quieter arrival sound that can be heard up to 12 meters away. You can see a visual representation of these sound ranges if you look at your minimap and use your ability. The first sound will flash with a large circle indicator, whereas the second sound will flash with a smaller indicator. You can also see where you will land on the minimap, which is useful for when you are teleporting through and from inside smokes. You have full control over your orientation during your teleport, and can jump while teleporting. You can use these functions to maintain momentum in an airstrafe in order to stay in motion. This is useful in order to teleport to a location without staying exposed to certain sightlines. It also increases the possible locations you could have teleported to from your opponent's perspective, making it harder to pinpoint your new location. To get a better understanding of what the teleport sounds are like, here are various examples. Using your teleport in high noise volume situations is the best time to use your teleport aggressively to get into positions behind your opponent. These situations generally show up the most when defending a push or retaking a site. Vandal sprays, ultimate abilities, raise grenades, these are all examples of great moments to look for. You don't always have to be sneaky with your teleport. You can also use it to create positional pressure. For example, teleporting to this location on mid in split allows you to peek from both sides at the same time, making it very hard for the opponent to hold these stairs and creates enough pressure to cause your opponent to want to move back or die in the process. Defensive mix-ups are when you show yourself in one location and teleport to another location across the gap so that you can peek from another angle. This is useful against characters with information gathering abilities such as Sofa and Cypher, as well as playing as an operator user when holding down a longer sightline. If the enemy is close enough to hear the sound, you can also start faking your teleports by using it in the same position, causing the enemy to think you might be peeking from a different angle if they're adapting to your plays. One of the best uses for teleport is grabbing high ground power positions quickly, especially in post-plant situations. Examples such as A site on Bind and Haven are the first ones to come to mind. You can get to these positions fast to cut off rotators unexpectedly quickly. Omen is able to play one and done spots by being able to teleport to safety afterwards. Remember that playing an off angle in these spots and jumping closer to the corner while teleporting to safety increases the chance that you can avoid being trade killed. Occasionally you can use your teleport as an entry ability. For example, if you use your teleport in this position with a teammate following you into the garage, your opponent has to make a choice of what direction to look and will most likely be in a checkmate situation. Another underutilized utility of teleport is being able to quickly plant the spike while committing minimal amounts of utility. For example, in B side of Haven, if close left and right are clear, you can teleport to this corner and plant the spike using the cover of your teammate's sightlines. Afterwards, you can teleport to safety and most of your team's utility is available for post plant. Along with the enemy team scrambling to rotate, this gives your team a large advantage in securing the round. When teleporting next to a corner, it's also important to note that you want to be as close to the wall as possible while being slightly away from the second wall, or you will appear too far away from the corner, which might expose you too much in certain locations. If you want to go a little more in depth on these concepts, I have a video on essential teleport techniques that will pop up over here, or you can check out my channel's video history. Up next on the list is the smoke, Dark Cover. This smoke lasts 15 seconds after it detonates with a 35-second cooldown, meaning if you use 2 smokes back to back, there will be 5 seconds of downtime before you can use a third smoke. A good way to know when to re-smoke a sightline after the first is when your cooldown is approaching the 20-second mark. The new shadow interface allows you to place longer range smokes more precisely, however I would recommend getting used to the normal view as much as possible due to having more vision of what's going on around you. You can use the minimap to figure out where your smokes will land from longer ranges as well. You can swap between the two interfaces by pressing your reload key by default. While it shows a projectile to you and your teammate's screens, your opponent does not see the projectile, and only sees the smoke when it begins to form. Because of this, you can misdirect opponents with smokes and play unexpected angles like these while you try to sell that you're playing defensively. The smoke itself is larger than a brimstone smoke, but it is hollow, meaning it doesn't cloud your vision when inside the smoke. Because of this feature, lurking inside of a smoke can be more advantageous when it comes to reacting to an opponent pushing through. You will be able to see your opponent's guns and then legs before you are visible to them due to the curvature of the smoke, giving you the advantage in that situation. Placing smokes in the air will cause them to slowly fall down until it reaches the floor. These can be useful for retakes in combination with teleports by placing smokes outside choke points, widening the entrance for your teammates in the process while teleporting to a higher location with the smoke falling to reveal an unexpected angle on your target. You can also use falling smokes to create temporary one-ways by placing the smoke directly on your opponent to the point where you can see their feet without them being able to see you. Speaking of temporary one-ways, you also have the option of using a plethora of one-ways in various locations around all the maps by sticking smokes into walls and on top of geometry. The idea is that in certain locations where the opponent is closer to the smoke than you are, you will be able to see their feet while they can see nothing at all. 2 examples are in places towards A site on split, on either A main or A ramp. If you want to learn more one-way smoke locations on all the maps, I've done guides for each map on my channel. You can also start by clicking up here. Another trick you can do when combining with your teleport that you see often is using one smoke to travel into another smoke. Keep in mind that the enemy has a good chance to hear the teleport unless a lot of noise is happening, and the double smoke is a very telegraphed maneuver. This strategy can be more effective in a location such as A site on split, because when smoking the cross, the opponent will generally focus more attention to the ramp area, allowing you to infiltrate and flank using this technique. You can also do low smokes by placing them underneath the ground to create headshot angles in certain locations. Here's a little example. When placing smokes, it's important to think about how you want to use your smoke. For example, on B Haven, if you're holding an angle on a potential push, it's probably a good idea to place the smoke so that the edge reaches the choke point. If you're retaking this bomb site, it's probably a good idea to isolate more angles and place the smoke more inward, like so. On A site, here's another example.
Cover going up. Cover going up.
Third on the list is the blind, Paranoia. This ability is a skill shot that acts as a flashbang that you cannot turn away from. However, unlike traditional flashes, you can still see a very small distance in front of you. This ability also clouds your audio for the duration of the blind. This ability goes through walls, reaches up to 35 meters away, and has a radius of 5 meters. A good way to know where this ability's coverage is by using your minimap. The area it covers is indicated by a blue rectangle. This is a very powerful ability, and is counterbalanced by the fact that you only get one use, so you must get good value out of it. Paranoia is great to use as a counter flash or counter push to get free kills off of on defense or in post-plant situations. On offense, you can use it to cover an entire portion of a bomb site before pushing in. If you know where an opponent is or likes to play, you can cover the entire area and push in with the blind. That player will not hear the rush happening, and it can be too late by the time the blind ends. You can also combine Paranoia with Teleport to keep your opponent from hearing it. This can be useful when defending certain bomb sites such as B on Haven, or gambles at the start of a round such as A on Ascent. You can set up teammates when playing a completely different location such as split A ramp when opponents are pushing up mid. Last up is Omen's ultimate ability, From the Shadows. Upon using your ultimate ability, it brings up a map where you can teleport to any location you click on within the map's boundaries. The circle that shows around your cursor is the sound range in which opponents can hear where you're appearing. After using your ultimate, your opponent's mini-maps are disabled and your vision will gradually increase upon your new location, and you can finally appear at your location after a few seconds. Pressing your ultimate button or being shot while you're still reforming will cancel the ability and return to where you used it from. After reforming, you are vulnerable for a short duration while you re-equip your weapon. So if you want to get a free kill on an Omen during his ultimate, you can hide out of line of sight from him and re-peek after he finishes reforming. The sound range of the ultimate reaches up to about 22 meters. Upon canceling your ultimate, the cancellation sound reaches up to about 30 meters away from where your shade was, and a very subtle return sound plays that reaches up to about 22 meters as well. Here are some sound examples of his ultimate and cancellations. While the ultimate is very loud, it can be masked just like your regular teleport. When canceling your ultimate, your orientation stays the same when you reappear back to your original location, so keep this in mind. The most common way people use Omen's ultimate is by teleporting to spawn to cut off rotators. The problem with this method is that the opponent by default expects an ulting Omen in the spawn, so we can find other more effective ways to use it. Pinching your opponent as your team is pushing in at the same time is a great way to use this ability. For example, you can use your ultimate in the back corner of split B as your team is pushing B main. If the opponent tries to contest your position, he turns his back to your team. And if he tries to contest your team, then he turns his back towards you. This forces the B player back towards Heaven or Spawn. Grabbing other power positions like Heaven and A site on Haven and Bind are also great uses of this ultimate. Many Omens feel the need to use their ultimate as aggressively as possible. However, using your ultimate as a fast rotational tool is also very useful. You can be creating pressure on the map away from a site that you're taking or defending, causing the enemy to keep opponents to your side of the map, and you can regroup quickly with your team on the other side of the map, creating a numbers advantage for your team. In clutch situations, you can use your ultimate while carrying the spike to another bomb site after all of the opponents have rotated to the site you were originally attacking. This gives you a large time advantage in that particular situation to try to clutch the round out. You can use your ultimate as a fake by canceling quickly away from the enemy, making the opponent think you're behind them. You can also use this after landing a kill and causing a close enemy to look the other way in a clutch situation. You can use your ultimate for information if you need to try to figure out where the opponent is in a clutch situation as well, or if you want to attack directly on a bomb site to clear the site. That about wraps up this guide. Hopefully I've covered enough concepts on this guide. If you want to go into a little more detail on each concept that was gone over in this video, I have other guides for that in my past videos. If you like my Omen content and want to be notified of future content, here are my socials, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Comment down below if you thought this guide was useful, and let me know if I missed anything important. Once again, this is moepork, thanks for watching, and until then, see you next time.
Oh my god, water. I need water.